What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Devin, and I hope that you will consider sticking around and subscribing. And if you're not new, as always, welcome back. I love you so much, and I am so grateful that you're here. So first of all, I just need you guys to know that this whole setup is just a work in progress. I'm filming at night. I did buy 2 soft boxes to help me film at night. It's also like 10:30 at night, but I really just wanted to film this video. I've been like running around and filming all day, so we're cozy. I put on a fun little SpongeBob sweatshirt and threw my hair in a scrunchie, and we've got Napa girl sleeping on the bed back there. So this video is going to be very, very casual, but you know, I kind of dig it, so it's all good. Okay, so now that I've already done a bunch of rambling, let's talk about this video. So I had this idea for a video, and I've been wanting to film it ever since I thought about it. We're going to be talking about my Colourpop palette wish list. As we all know, Colourpop is constantly releasing new things, and there are some things that I am so drawn to, and there are other things that I am just not impressed with. But Colourpop, I would say, is by far my favorite makeup brand, especially when it comes to their eyeshadow palettes. So I am always tempted to buy all of the palettes that I want from them, and there's quite a lot because they are always releasing something. But I have slowed my roll a lot with buying Colourpop palettes, specifically this year, just because I have so many, and I like in particular have so many that I just absolutely love that I want to use and like show love to. I definitely am like getting the itch to get some, but I thought that this video would be a helpful way to maybe scratch that itch without actually spending all my money. That being said, I figured it would be fun to just talk about it. I'll tell you guys what's on my wish list. If you want, you can leave me a comment telling me what's on your Colourpop wish list, but without further ado, let's hang out, just get cozy. Like I said, I'm in my sweatshirt, we're chilling. So if you want to talk about Colourpop palettes with me, let's get right into it. All right, so I am literally sitting like cross-legged on my chair, and I am gonna kind of like scooch to the side because I want to post pictures of the palettes that I'm talking about right here next to my head as we're going through this video. So I'm literally just gonna go on their website, I'm gonna scroll through the palettes, and when something piques my interest, we're gonna talk about it. All right, so first up, let's talk about a fairly recent release. So this is the One and Done palette. Like I said, I had really been resisting a lot of the Colourpop releases this year, but for whatever reason, when this collection was announced, like this immediately piqued my interest. It's like a warm neutral palette with pops of pink. It's nothing like spectacular, but one of my biggest things that I love when it comes to makeup and just life in general, like I love a theme. I love makeup with a theme. I love parties with a theme. I love a good theme. And then specifically with makeup, I also I work in marketing and advertising and stuff like that, and I love branding as well. Like I just love when a product or a collection or a brand gives you a vibe. I can't explain it. I love it. I'm obsessed with that kind of thing. So when this collection was announced, I just thought that the Wild West rodeo type theme was really cool, and I just also felt like this was a palette that I would actually wear, but it was also still a fairly interesting color story. I feel like with makeup at this point, there's so many brands, it's such a saturated market, everything has been done, right? Like nothing is necessarily groundbreaking, but again, I think it is kind of like the branding and the combination of colors and then like your personal makeup preference too of what you'll actually use. So this palette is definitely on my wish list. I'm not saying that I'm running to pick it up, but I'm also not saying that I'm never gonna pick it up. This is a wish list that I really would like to pick a couple of these up just to test out because I haven't done a new Colourpop palette video in a while, but yeah. So anyway, this one I just thought was super cute. Okay, I'm sorry you guys, my mic wasn't plugged in, and I just realized it, so if the audio at the beginning of this video wasn't great, I apologize, and I hope it's better now. If you can't tell a difference, then whatever, just ignore it. I can tell that I'm tired and I don't know what I'm doing at this point, but it's okay. Let's move on. So I want to talk about the Star Wars palettes for a second because I honestly want all of them. So let's talk about the Darth Vader palette first. I feel like a lot of people said that this color scheme was a miss in terms of the actual like embodying the actual character. And I will say I am a recent Star Wars fan. I did not grow up with watching Star Wars. I actually just recently watched through all of the movies. I think there's a couple of like the ones, like the core movies that I've seen, and then there's a couple of like the, what do you call them? Like the standalone ones, I guess, that I've seen. Like we watched Han Solo, and potentially that's it. I haven't seen Rogue One. I know that because Sean keeps telling me I need to see Rogue One. But anyway, I'm a recent Star Wars fan. We also have watched all of the Star Wars series on Disney Plus. So like Mandalorian, I loved. I actually watched Mandalorian first before I watched even any of the Star Wars, like the original Star Wars movies. We love Boba Fett, and we just watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was fantastic. So I have gotten into Star Wars because of Sean, but I did genuinely enjoy it. So I am definitely a very new Star Wars fan. That being said, I don't mind the color scheme of this Darth Vader palette. I mean, if you take the character away, I do think it's a pretty cool, like unique color scheme. So a lot of the criticism that I heard was that like there's not a matte black in there, which like I definitely understand. I feel like a matte black would round out this palette better than, I think, this color Sith Lord, which looks like it's a brown. I mean, I think the shade Death Star, you kind of have that like like that dark metallic color, so I think that works. And then the dark side looks like potentially a black with like red shimmer in it. So I don't feel like this was a total miss. Again, like I'm not like a Star Wars junkie or anything like that, but I don't know. I think that this is a cool palette, and I really think that you could get some really cool looks out of this. So that one's on the list, and it looks like it's on sale right now for $11 on the website, just PSA. So then of course we have the Child palette, which actually looks like it's out of stock right now, but I feel like they have restocked that quite a few times. So this, I think, was their first Star Wars collab. This came out when Mandalorian, I think, was coming out, or at least when Mandalorian was happening. I mean, Baby Yoda is what he's called in the mainstream. He does have a different name, and he's not Baby Yoda. He's a different character, but you know, you have to watch. I won't put any spoilers here, but he does have his own name. But either way, the most adorable Star Wars character that I have ever seen. I love him so much, and this palette is really cool. And I also think, even though it's green, I really do think this is a wearable palette. I really like greens, especially the like earthy olivey tone greens. I do really feel like I would lump those in with neutrals, especially around like the fall winter. I do really love a good earthy green, and there are a couple browns in this palette as well that I feel like do round it out and kind of neutralize it a little bit. So that palette is absolutely adorable. Honestly, the whole collection, the little mirror, love it all. And then not long after that, there was also the Mandalorian palette, and again, I just think that this is a really cool color scheme. The row of shimmers across the middle of the palette, and especially that shimmer right in the center, like when I look at this palette, my eye immediately goes to that shimmer right in the center, and I'm like, that is just such a cool color. So it looks like Mandalorian palette is on sale as well. I just really love this palette. I think it's so cool looking and so unique, but again, like wearable. And I do love kind of like a smoky, like a gunmetal smoky moment as well. And I feel like this palette would lend itself well to that. So I've had my eye on this palette too ever since it released. And I've been resisting these ones because these collabs, you never know how long they're going to be limited edition. So, but I don't know. That being said, I also feel like Colourpop does restock things like this that are supposed to be limited edition, but that there's demand for. So who knows? But Mandalorian is in stock and on sale right now, so I could be tempted. Okay, so I did want to round this out, this little Star Wars chat out, with the overall, I don't know what else to call it, and I forget what it was called, but it was like a general, like Luke Skywalker and Leia, like they were on the cover of it. It was like the original Star Wars art. I'm not explaining it well, but you guys know what I mean. There was just a general Star Wars palette and like collection to go with it actually, and I can see the lipsticks on here, but I can't find the palette on their website. I don't remember what it was called. I'll try to find a picture and like pop it in anyway. I'm sure I'll be able to find a picture on Google somewhere, but that makes me sad because the fact that it's not even on here, I feel like potentially that's gone and never coming back. So that stinks. Okay, next let's talk about the Gone Matte palette. It is a mega palette and it is literally like, do you need any other matte besides what's in this palette? Is this not every neutral matte you'll ever need? I think it is. I can't tell. I'm assuming that's like a nice matte black. Like, I don't know. I just love how it starts at the top with like a nice bone colored matte because that's the type of shade I like to use to set down my primer. And then all the way at the bottom in the corner, as long as my eyes are not deceiving me with these pictures, it looks like that's a nice matte black down in the bottom right. So from top left to bottom right, I mean, guys, just the way that it's organized in rows and it's like ombre, first of all, I love a Colourpop Mega palette. I do think that some are repetitive. Like, I don't need all of them, but the ones that I do have, I absolutely love. And this matte one, I feel like does add something to my collection because it's just, I will never not use it. Like, it's such a staple, and you can pair this, like you can pair shades in this palette with literally anything. So yeah, I need this 1,000 times. Yes, this is like at the top of my wish list. Like, this is not just even on my wish list, this is at the top. So I'm not really going in any particular order with these. I'm just telling you guys what I love and what I want. But this Gone Matte palette, like, yes, when I decide to pull the trigger on a couple Colourpop palettes, that one is the first to go in my cart. Okay, the next is actually the Lucky Penny palette, which for me, like, I really stewed on this because I was not impressed with this palette at all when it was first announced. And I forget when it released. It's not really a new palette by any means at this point, but I was not impressed. I was like, it's another neutral palette, like whatever. But again, like, these types of neutral palettes are, one, the type that I will use in rotation, and two, the type of palette that I would be likely to recommend to friends and family, or like people who are coming to me knowing that I love makeup and asking what they should use for their everyday. Like, most people are not coming to me and asking me, hey, what purple eyeshadow palette should I buy? You know what I mean? It's like, what's good for every day, what have you. So you guys get the point. But the more that I look at this palette, the more that I love it, and the more that I think it really is practical and wearable and usable. You know what I mean? Especially now in the summer, like, these warm coppery neutrals are just so stunning, and it's what I gravitate towards, like, whenever I'm going out. So I do see this as a palette that, one, I could see myself getting a lot of use out of, and two, I do really feel like this is a palette that I would recommend to people who need like a good warm neutral palette. So, you know, it's not anything like crazy or super innovative, but again, it's just like, it's so easy to use. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to think too hard when you're using a palette like this if you're a warm neutral lover like myself. So the more I look at this, the more I really like this one. Okay, the next is the Orchid You Not palette. Ugh. Man, this palette is just stunning, and I do feel like when this was announced, it got a lot of good reviews, and I feel like I've seen this in a lot of people's favorites and like palette roundups and stuff. It's just stunning. I mean, the purples in this are just so, they're so beautiful. I love kind of the mix of like the mauve and the pinky purples. Like, I love how this really is like, is it pink? Is it purple? You know what I mean? It's like right in between. I do really love it. And again, like, you have some good shimmers in here. There's a decent range. There's a nice bright shimmer in the top left corner for like an inner corner pop. And then you also in the bottom right have a nice shade to like deepen up all the purples in this palette. So I just think that this is gorgeous, especially like for the fall winter. Did I say that already? I might have already said that, but this just gives me the feels. Again, just I feel like I could get some really good like dramatic smoldering purple smoky eyes out of this. I I'm here for it. I love it. Next up is the Malibu Barbie palette. This was a collab, oh gosh, I think it was last year, if not before last year, but I love this palette. I love the warm neutrals. I love the pops of color. I love the aqua blue, the pink, the yellow, the gold. Like, I just love this color scheme, and I love how cohesive it looks, even though you can take it in a lot of different directions. This is another one that I just, like, when it was announced, I loved it so much, but I resisted it. It might have even been, like, released during the time when I wasn't really even filming. I don't really remember. And again, like, I just haven't bought it because I'm like, I'm going to buy it and love it and want to recommend it, and then it's going to go out of stock or whatever. It's going to be limited edition, and people aren't going to be able to get it, and then I'll stop talking about it. But, like, every time I go on their website, I see this and it's still in stock, and I'm like, oh, I still love it. And even the lip bundles from this collection too. Sometimes I literally, this is how crazy I am and how obsessed with makeup and how obsessed with Colourpop I am. I literally sometimes will just go on their website for fun, like for entertainment, and just like pretend like I'm shopping even though I'm not buying anything. So whenever I'm doing that, I'm always looking at this palette, and I love it. And like, this is something that I connect to the nostalgia with, because I don't know if I had Malibu Barbie, but I definitely had like workout Barbie. I had all kinds of Barbies. I had the Spice Girl Barbies. I had them all. And I grew up with Barbie, and I definitely, yeah, I'm a Barbie girl for sure. For sure, for sure. If you called my parents right now and asked them what I liked to play with when I was a little kid, it would be Barbies. So yeah, I really love this palette, and it's not out of the question for me to still buy it. Okay, the next palette is the Fluttery By palette. I believe this is, yeah, like a butterfly themed palette. I don't know when this was released, but again, this color scheme just speaks to me. I feel like it's unique, but it's still wearable, and I feel like this is a palette that I would get a lot of use out of, especially in maybe like the winter or the spring. Like, just, I feel like this is actually a great transitional palette from winter to spring, because it still has that like cool toned vibe to it. It's definitely got some depth, but it is butterfly themed, and it does also have those lighter like pinky purple ethereal shades. So I feel like this could be a really good transitional palette for that. I want to say there's a glitter in here as well. I actually like the pressed glitters in palettes, and I do like Colourpop's pressed glitter formula in particular. I do think it's good, and every so often I do like to pop a pressed glitter on top of the lid, like over top of whatever shade I have on the lid. I like that. I think it adds to the look. It doesn't bother me. So I'm just really drawn to this color scheme. I do love their 12 pan palettes as well. I do feel like that's a pretty perfect size for a palette to get variety, but for it to not be overwhelming. I love a good mega palette. I'm not easily overwhelmed by mega palettes, so I could see how some people could be, you know? So I think that the Colourpop 12 pans are just great palettes. And again, like, this is something that, one, I feel like I would use all the time, and two, a palette that I could see myself like really recommending to people depending on what they're looking for. So yeah, I really, really like this one. Okay, the next one is the California Love palette. So I have actually used this palette before. My sister has this palette, so when we both still lived at our parents', I would borrow this from her from time to time. And again, warm toned neutrals, but I would use it. I would use this all the time, especially now in the summer for like, this is a sultry summer nights palette. It's just like you're going out, you're dressing up, but it's still summer. It's, you know, you're in your sundresses or whatever, and your cute outfits with the girls, and you're going out to a rooftop bar or something like that. Like, I feel like that's the vibe for this palette, and I am here for it. So I would like to have this in my possession in my own collection. Obviously, my sister and I don't live near each other anymore. She's in Pennsylvania and I'm in Florida, and I don't want to steal this from her. So I would like my very own California Love palette in my Colourpop collection. Okay, so next up is the Sweet Talk palette. Just a classic, right? I mean, I feel like this was like one of their spring releases several years ago at this point, but I feel like it got so much hype and so much love when it first came out, and I do feel like it does continue to be a favorite. Like, when I watch Colourpop palette videos and ranking videos and favorites videos and stuff like that, I feel like people do still love this palette, and it's just that I feel like Sweet Talk is a good name for it, because when I look at this palette, I just feel like it's such a sweet palette. Like, it's just such a sweet color theme. It's that pinky, girly, but again, still neutral, still wearable, and still something that, one, I feel like I would use a lot, and two, I feel like I would recommend to people. So I just, like, it's just gorgeous. I love it. A lot of these palettes too, like, if I were to buy them, maybe not all of them, but if I were to buy some of these, like, I would still want to do videos and tutorials with them, and I just don't know that they would be relevant or that people would care, because again, Colourpop is coming out with so many new things all the time. But like, I personally still care about these like good staple palettes that have been around for a couple years that people love. Like, I personally still care about them. So who knows? But yeah, I really love this Sweet Talk palette. I've had my eye on it. I feel like I've definitely put this in my cart several times and just taken it out to be like, ah, you don't need it, you know, but it's so pretty. I love it. Okay, so this is their newest release, I believe, at the time of me filming this, or maybe not their newest actually, because they just came out with that Opal Seashell collection, but I really wasn't drawn to those palettes at all. But this is the In the Springs palette. Look at this color scheme. This is summer in such a fun way. And again, like, it's fun and interesting enough that it's different, but I also do feel like it's neutral enough that you can wear it. Like, these orangey, coppery colors mixed with the teal, just kind of like ocean blue. I love it. It speaks to me, and the packaging on this palette is so fun too. It just feels so summery and tropical. It's very like resort-like, you know? I just love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's such a fun color scheme. It's a newer palette. It's got the bigger pans. So this, it's pretty likely that I do pick up a few things from this collection, including this palette. I just feel very drawn to this. I'm having a hard time resisting, but this is really pretty. And I feel like I've seen a couple people in recent videos talking about this, like how much they like it. So yeah, my eye was drawn to this palette when it was released, or when it was announced. So yeah, I think this is really pretty. Yeah, it's funny. In the description on the website, it says summer has entered the chat. And yes, like, I feel like that's exactly it. It's so fun. Okay, there's really only one more palette that I want to talk about here, and it is the Fade into Hue palette. So this is Colourpop's rainbow palette. This is like the rainbow palette from Colourpop, and honestly, that's the reason that I want it. It's their rainbow palette, it's their colorful palette, and I just think it looks so pretty. I also think there are a fair amount of glitters in here, which again, I think is fun. That adds to the palette for me. I know for some people they don't like that, but I feel like this is another palette I've heard good things about, and this is just a good one to have in your collection when you're like, you know what, I want to do something fun. I want to play with color. I want to do a rainbow cut crease or something crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is like the rainbow palette from Colourpop, as I've said 5 times at this point, and that's why I want it. This is just something where, like, when I look at it, the creative, like, my brain is so dominantly creative that, like, my brain just gets so happy and excited, like, ooh, color and creativity and fun and just, like, expression. I love it. So yeah, that is apparently the last one on my extensive Colourpop palette wish list. All right, you guys, so that's it. That is my Colourpop palette wish list. I had fun talking about these palettes. I am always thinking about palettes. I am always dreaming about them. I am always looking at them. I'm always looking at pictures of them online, and I know that palettes are a makeup item that, like, you're really not ever gonna go through, especially if you're someone like me that just is obsessed with makeup and literally collects it. But they just are so inspiring. They're so much fun, and like, I love complexion products. I love trying out new foundations and bronzers and blushes and highlights and all that stuff, and lip products. We all know I love lip products, but like, eyeshadow palettes for me are the outlet of creativity in makeup. Like, that is really where the fun part is. That's where the color is. That's where the inspiration is, and I just love it. And then with Colourpop, like, Colourpop is just kind of the Goldilocks factor for me. The quality's there and the price point is there, especially with their eyeshadow palettes, and it's just kind of like that. is what does it for me. So I do know that it's like craziness trying to keep up with Colourpop sometimes, but like in the same respect, there's something for everybody at Colourpop, and they give you lots of options. So if you can't find something you like, then you probably just, I don't know what to tell you. So that's that. I hope you guys had fun just chilling, talking about eyeshadow and hanging out with me. It's time for me to go to bed. I think I'm gonna go wash this makeup off. So if you have made it this far in this video and you have not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And you can also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads from me. I would love to have you join me here. I have a lot of fun here on YouTube. This is what brings me the most joy. I love it. I love talking about makeup, and I love connecting with other people that love it as much as I do, because I feel like I come on here to connect with people that love it like I do, because I don't have a lot of people in my real life that understand the obsession and like just the level of obsessed that I am with makeup. I could talk about it forever. So definitely join me. You can also give me a follow on Instagram if you'd like to. I am at DebDebGregs over there. I do post makeup related content over there as well. Instagram is a lot more of like my day-to-day activities. So if you want to hang out with me over there as well, I would love that. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will catch you in my next one. Mwah. Love you. Bye.